On July 15th, 2020, I was working from home, talking to one of my sources in the crypto world and idly scrolling through Twitter.
I'm scrolling through Twitter like I do way too often, and I saw a tweet from Elon Musk. If you send me $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, I'll send you back 2,000, which felt like an obvious scam. I just thought, oh, someone finally hacked his account. Good for them, I guess. And then I started seeing all these other accounts starting to get hit.
I was seeing this same tweet coming up from Apple, Uber,
Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates,
Joe Biden,
Barack Obama,
Michael Bloomberg, Floyd Mayweather,
Kanye West,
and of course, Kim Kardashian.
Twitter turned off tweeting for all the verified accounts.
And it suddenly became clear just how significant Twitter was.
Developing this morning, Twitter is investigating a massive hack.
Twitter a même dû bloquer au passage.
Twitter handles hack किए जाने का इंकशाफ हुआ.
And they literally brought Twitter to its knees. The first thought was, this is too sophisticated for this just to be a Bitcoin scam.
It could have been a nation state that executed this.
We've never seen anything of this scope or scale.
It immediately sort of recalled the 2016 elections, and the DNC gets hacked, and Hillary Clinton's emails are floating out there. All this personal information about the most significant cultural, business, and political figures had been penetrated.
Pete, what do we know right now?
Chris, what do we know?
Don't have any real answers about what's going on.
Everybody was just sort of waiting with bated breath to figure out who was behind the attack.
And who did it turn out to be?
Teenagers.
Federal law enforcement agents arrested 17-year-old Graham Clark for being the mastermind behind the July 15th hack of Twitter.
Should I sit down? Yeah. Okay.
So, were these super sophisticated hackers, or are these basically children?
Why not both? Because that's the truth. Like super sophisticated, advanced hackers and children. These are not mutually exclusive categories here.
A Florida teen is behind bars this morning and accused of masterminding that massive Twitter hack.
I'm just going to do a $25,000 bond on each account. That would be a total of $750,000.
At just 17 years old, Florida officials say this is the mastermind behind an unprecedented hack into Twitter.
Our focus, as soon as he got arrested, was to try to figure out who is Graham Ivan Clark.
It is clear from talking to some of the kids that went to school with him and other people around the school that Graham was attracting attention because he seemed to have sort of an unusual amount of wealth for someone of his age. He was flashing large amounts of cash, was offering it to his classmates to do him favors. It begs the question, you know, if there's a kid that's flaunting this much money, why no one stepped in and no one asked him where the money was coming from and what was going on in his life?
Reached by phone Friday, Clark's mother told NBC News, "I believe he didn't do it. I've spoken to him every day. I'm devastated."
I mean, this all began when he was like 12 or 13 years old. His parents had divorced, his dad had moved away.
It seems like his mom moved around quite a lot and actually faced eviction in 2013.
And as for many kids, Graham turned to the digital world as this place where he could have power.
Let's go to a place where everything is made of blocks, where the only limit is your imagination.
Minecraft is a video game that is very expansive.
Climb the tallest mountains.
The characters kind of remind me of little Lego characters almost. They're just these like rectangular little guys. You know, all the trees are rectangles and stuff like that.
With no rules to follow. This adventure, it's up to you.
Minecraft is classified as a block game, and people build bases, build houses. I'm more into like, we attack them, we destroy them. That'd be fun. So you can meet people on Minecraft and you can talk with them on the game. And I met my girlfriend through Minecraft as well. I'm on Minecraft right now. Obviously, that's great, but you also have to watch out because there are bad people that will try to take advantage of you as well.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Open here, and just before I get...
We have some recordings of Graham during that time where he's using the username Open.
I first met Open back in 2017 on the game mode that I still play to this day. And I was told by a lot of my fans that he was scamming them and taking money from them.
So if I say you, is that snap disrespect?
Not really, I don't care, because you're like 12.
I'm like 12, but I make more money than you.
He didn't really seem to care at all.
I don't give a you're pissing me off.
Alright, man, you can leave now.
No, you can leave.
And the cape scamming was like what started it off. You can buy capes on the game, and it will go on your Minecraft character. I mean, it's just, they're valuable, and people want to show it off, and it's kind of cool to have on your character. Back then, I would say each cape was around like $100 to $200, and he would sell the cape and then would never give the cape to the person who bought it. When I heard about what he was doing, I figured that I needed to say something.
Open has scammed, he has fake giveaways, he has done pretty much everything.
And I pretty much made a couple of videos on him explaining like how he was scamming people.
Let's get into this. Open exposed.
The first few would expose what he scammed with the Minecon capes, how he treated his fans, how he did business, how he would say that he would record a video, he would get paid for it, and then he wouldn't do it. And then the final video that I ever posted on him was just us talking back and forth, arguing with each other.
It wasn't a fake giveaway. I just didn't give the to the winner.
Exactly.
And I don't care.
If I did a Minecon cape giveaway, I'd give it away.
But you don't have a Minecon cape.
Exactly.
But you don't hop on anyone else's like Verzi. Verzi does.
I don't know who that is. So Open ended up getting banned off of like all these servers after I showed the proof in my videos of how he was scamming. And then that is when I ended up getting hacked. I lost access to my Skype and my Engine account. They would like message people and pretend to be me and scam them. And one of my friends that was on that Skype account, she was one of my fans, like she watched my videos and stuff. I lost contact with her and she actually ended up dying in a car crash. So it really, I guess, affected me. One of the reasons I lost contact with her was obviously because Open paid someone to hack me.
I don't think that there is a big leap between experimenting with edgy or uncomfortable behavior online and experimenting with illegal behavior online, especially in a world like Minecraft where you're just playing with other kids.
Are you kidding me, Open? You hit him off?
I swear my life. I swear my mom's life.
There aren't any adults watching. And there is no sense of like, oh, this behavior could be a problem.
Graham eventually got more or less driven out of the Minecraft community. I mean, nobody trusted him.
And the next trace of him that we were able to find was that he started setting up accounts on this forum called OG Users. OG Users is a forum where you can buy and sell usernames on a variety of social media platforms. Some people want, you know, just a funny short name or even just a number or a letter.
Why?
It's cool.
An OG username, it stands for original, not original gangster. And these are basically dictionary words or very short usernames. examples of it would be like the letter A, the word hacker, usernames like that, things that get taken up very quickly and usually signify that you're an early adopter of the service or a hacker.
Graham started setting up accounts and buying and selling usernames. In the forum, there's sort of a mix of people. You know, some people are amateur hackers or just kind of starting out in their hacking career. There's people who are really experienced at this there as well.
I guess it's like almost a digital social media flex, like the Gucci of the internet, you know? I knew Graham under the alias Grim, which was probably early 2018. All the people knew him as the Minecraft guy. He used to just scam people all the time. Then he started like hacking people. He was a SIM swapper.
So what is a SIM swap? Let's see. So you have a scenario where your second factor for security is actually 0 factor. The third factor, they'll log into the 2-factor token. Now keep in mind, if the telco is hacked, the threat actor, the voice actor, password, username, profile reset, register, access security device. And that's how they would take over victims' phone numbers. One of the things that they would do is they would call one of the stores and pretend to be a different store and steal their credentials that way.
I have a script here. I think I read it. It'd be like, hello, my name is James. I'm calling from the AT&T RSS retail service help desk. My AT&T user ID is AT35D. That's completely made up.
I'm calling regarding a complaint opened by this store. It says here that you were having issues with your kiosk connecting to Bluetooth over on the card reader.
So they'd be like, nope, we haven't. We'd be like, oh, well, we have a support ticket that we need to close.
Can you please go ahead and open your Google Chrome and type in this URL?
And they would log in, and then once they logged in, the phishing page would be like, close ticket, and they would tick it, and they'd be like, oh, we closed it.
And this username and password goes to the hackers, who then use it to log in, and then they can perform SIM swaps.
You know, sometimes you just become such a nuisance, they'll just do it. But yeah, it's just, you know, just trickery.
This began with, okay, I'm going to get control of somebody's phone number so that I can get their Twitter account. But they pretty quickly realized, oh, if I can get control of their Twitter account, I can also get control of their email account. And if I can get control of their email account, maybe I can also reset the access to their bank account.
But it becomes a lot more lucrative if you start going after people who hold a lot of Bitcoin.
I mean, you know, you think of like a bank robber in days of old. There was no bank robber who was going to make off with $24 million. But these kids could get control of somebody's Bitcoin account and take all of their money.
And, you know, people like Graham is making hundreds of thousands of dollars off, you know, these little 5-minute calls and 2-minute tricks.
What would be appealing about this community to a child? A lot of these kids are powerless in their real life. They're often mistreated. They often don't have a lot of friends. And at the core of it, they're seeking acceptance. They need a group of friends, and they need people that will accept them. On top of that, this community can offer money.
Here's this kid around 15, 16. He introduces himself to the world of OG users, and soon enough, he falls in with this gang in which he can suddenly make $1 million in a day.
It seems like at a certain point, Graham really started to escalate his behavior, and we start to see him move into these much more lucrative thefts that could net potentially millions of dollars.
The way Graham used to find his targets, he actually told someone who told me he would go on like the Twitter accounts of Coinbase, Bittrex, Binance, And he'd see who looked rich, who didn't, you know, who flexed, who didn't, who looked more wealthy.
My name is Greg Bennett. I'm an angel investor in the Pacific Northwest, and I have a kind of a side gig in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, which I consider a specialty area of mine now. It was April 15th, 2019, and I was in my office, and it was a beautiful sunny day. The sun was streaming in over my shoulder, and I was at my stand-up desk, and I'm looking at my phone, and my phone all of a sudden went dead. I get no signal, and it's in the middle of an urban area, and I don't get anything on my phone. I have 4 email accounts. 3 of them all of a sudden I could not get into. And so now I'm going, uh-oh, this is not good. I can't get access to my email, and now I can't get access to my phone. I smell a rat. So I immediately tried to get into my 3 cryptocurrency accounts at separate companies, and I couldn't get into any one of them. And so then you realize, wow, I am definitely being hacked. Now I'm in a mad panic because I can't get access to my accounts, I can't get access to my Bitcoin, I can't get access to my phone. I actually go into another application I have which draws all the data from the 3 applications into one interface so I can see what I have out there. I was seeing transfers of Bitcoin out of my account to some other account that I had no idea, and it was happening certainly not under my control, but it was just happening. And they were happening up to my maximum limits per day for each one of these accounts. Imagine you lost your calendar, you lost your contacts, you lost all your email history, you lost all your kids' photos, all your videos you've ever taken. Imagine you've kind of lost all your life up to today. And that's what it felt like.
Graham turns out to be responsible for the theft of Bitcoin from Greg, and he gets close to $1 million from this attack.
When people succeed at performing some kind of theft, they're usually going to celebrate that, right? So a lot of SimSwap culture has revolved around glorifying people that are successful at committing fraud and theft. We have seen videos, music videos, rap music.
Oh, hacker, 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 my teeth worth more than your main, huh? Harmless role-playing hackers flexing on the Fenny Play-Doh.
They'll give shout-outs to their friends, they'll diss their enemies.
Shout out to all the SimSwappers out there, all the people that scammed up to buy cocaine.
But they'll also brag about their accomplishments, and that's a huge part of it. They'll talk about how good they are at sim swapping.
Made 50K off extortion. On Twitter, you couldn't afford it.
What all the girls think about them. Always positive.
Girls dropping ass pics in my inbox. I just spent your whole rent check on a roof.
You see these chat logs where they're talking about, like, what do I do with this money? I don't even know how to drive. I can't buy a car, so I bought a car for my uncle.
We see them in the nightclub, standing in a circle with Rolexes on their wrists, and they'll dump bottles of Dom Perignon champagne onto their Rolexes, onto the floor. It's just crazy.
In the days following the Greg Bennett hack, the hackers started emailing Greg from his own email address, which they had control of, demanding that he hand over the rest of the Bitcoin that they knew he had.
If you want any of your accounts back at all and no issues, we are requesting 50 Bitcoin. Let's get this resolved smoothly. Therefore, we don't have to bring up any more issues to your work, friends, family, or accounts.
But in addition to making these ransom demands of Greg, you also start to see the hackers arguing between each other.
Graham decided to keep all the money, and he didn't split it with the other people.
You see his fellow hackers threatening Graham and saying that if he doesn't share these criminal proceeds, they're gonna reveal who he is and the role that he played in this crime.
Some people said like that he scammed them and stuff, but like all those people, like, they're not innocent, they're not necessarily even good people in general. Yeah, so I mean, as you know, a lot of people didn't like him because of some of the choices he made. So obviously that's going to come with some backlash. They got his family's personal info. They were just constantly harassing him. Someone sent people to Graham's house to scare him or even rob him at one point.
Well, they were planning his robbery. They wanted to have him like tortured and like a lot of dark things done to him.
A lot of the things that we've been seeing when we look at this activity online, there's a lot of parallels to violent youth street gangs.
We do hear from people that Graham may have had some involvement in drugs in some way. And then around winter break is when things start to take a really serious turn for Graham.
Tonight, a home invasion is turning deadly. We have a lot more information about this. Here's what we know.
He's involved in a shooting in which one of his friends ended up dead.
4 Bay Area teenagers were involved in this. One of them is dead. Another one is in critical condition.
We know from the police file that one of the other kids claimed Graham had essentially set them up. He went with them to the house of another drug dealer with a gun and then took off when he heard the shots. In his interview with police, Graham later denies knowing anything about the robbery.
You say, I don't know anything about it.
I'm not aware. That's why I gave them money. If they were gonna go rob someone, why would I give them money?
Is that believable?
What's believable?
What you're telling us.
I counted 5,500. I gave it to them. They walk and they go do the thing. So what makes you think I know that they're gonna go rob someone?
In his interviews with law enforcement, Graham comes off as somebody who thinks he's the smartest person in the room. There was conflicting evidence all over the place about what Graham's role was. At the end of the investigation, the only thing we knew for sure is that he was outside in the car when the shooting happened and that he knew the people involved, but that's not nearly enough to be able to charge him with a crime.
After the shooting, the principal put out an announcement to the school community saying that the students who were involved would not be welcomed back. And so that was the end of Graham going to high school.
He moved out of his mom's house, got his own apartment.
And it seems like it was a moment of rupture in his life.
We hadn't talked in maybe a couple months. He was like, yo, he's like, how you been doing? Like, you know, we talked, we just had some small talk. And then he was like, you know what, bro, I actually got popped back in April.
He was visited at home by agents working with this task force in California who knew that he had been involved in these SIM swaps.
He kind of like said that they came to an agreement where he had to give up blah, blah, blah amount of funds. And once doing so, they'd drop all the charges on him. So I assume they came to some sort of agreement.
One of the remarkable things about this interaction with law enforcement was that they forced Graham to give up 100 Bitcoins, but they allowed him to keep another 300 Bitcoin. And in addition to letting him keep the money, they let him go free.
You know, that's like if you stole 10 rubies from me and 10 diamonds and I catch them in your house and you have another 100 behind you, I'm pretty sure you stole them from someone else too. How can you prove someone stole 100 Bitcoin and be, oh, I'm sure he didn't steal the rest and let him keep it? It doesn't really make sense.
Our office spoke with the prosecutors in California about the decision to have him pay restitution and basically not to criminally charge him as an adult. But again, we weren't in the driver's seat of that prosecution.
We reached out to the prosecutor in California, and they basically said that they couldn't comment on a case involving minors.
There's a lot of legal barriers to issuing criminal charges against a minor. For example, at the federal level, there is no federal juvenile system, so they're generally not willing to charge minors for anything federal.
The law may need to be changed to allow the federal system to catch up with the reality that you have younger kids getting involved in online scams, crypto scams that really merit more serious prosecution and punishment, which federal law doesn't currently allow.
I mean, he was thankful, obviously. It could have went a bad way. He wanted to move forward and invest all the money he's made over the years into a legitimate business, because we both had money we were going to invest into something legit that would last and grow. We wanted to work on being a better person in general and moving on to more legit things.
But I think maybe the lesson to Graham was, I can steal $1 million and they'll let me go. Because a few weeks after dealing with federal authorities and giving up $1 million, he takes the first steps into this Twitter hack.
Just breaking, Twitter says it's investigating the apparent hacking of many high-profile users.
On the day of the hacks, we're still trying to figure this out. And in the midst of this, I got this really interesting tip that somebody had sent out a tweet that suggested that they knew something about what had happened. I looked at the tweet, and it appeared to be a cell phone executive of some sort.
I'm Hasib Awan, and I am CEO of Ifani. We protect high net worth individuals and important people's cell phones. Do we have Wi-Fi here by any chance? I got a message from one of my contacts. Twitter will be fun today. I don't know what he means by that. So I asked my contact, hey, what's happening? He said that we got Twitter. Right now, we have access to every Twitter handle. I said, man, you got to be kidding me. So he sent me a screenshot of that. Buy any account for $2,000, and I'll give you their username and password. I'll give you access to their account. So I was kind of, I won't say panicked, but I was kind of concerned. So I got a listing, and I posted on Twitter. And I think after 10 minutes, I get a direct message. Hey, can you please remove this listing? I don't want to get in trouble. I said, who are you? He said, I'm the one who did it. I'm just a broker. I had no involvement in the hack, and it's freaking me out. What I did, he was just trying to prove that, hey, I'm just a middleman. I actually didn't do anything. Gave me his real name, and he genuinely asking for help. And he wanted a story out there. So I said, the only way for you to come out clean is by telling your story. It was my suggestion, talking to journalists, because I thought he would be arrested within next 24 hours or 48 hours.
And so Hasib connected me with this kid whose name was Mason. Mason, a kid living in south of England, and he is very nervous. And he explained to me very quickly that he wasn't the guy at the very center of this. He had been the one selling some of these addresses, but he hadn't been the guy inside of Twitter's systems.
He says that there's this guy named Kirk who is behind the hack, and he's a Twitter employee.
And the night before the attack, Kirk asked, do you want to work with me? Do you want to help sell Twitter addresses? And Mason, at first, I think like everybody else in this story, didn't believe it. So his way of testing this was to ask for one of these valuable Twitter handles that had one letter, one name, like anxious. Kirk gives him access to the handle on Twitter @anxious. So Mason realizes this guy's for real. We have a real Twitter rep here. We really have somebody who's on the inside of Twitter. So Mason put out an ad and said, we can get you any Twitter handle you want. In this community, this is like, you know, magical fairyland access.
And so we start seeing, you know, before Joe Biden, before Elon Musk, all these lesser-known accounts being taken over and being sold on OG users.
Right around 12:30 California time, Mason's in the UK, essentially right before the fireworks started to happen. He showed me these chats with his girlfriend where you can see him going to sleep and then waking up in the middle of the night, and he suddenly looks on his computer again.
Breaking news tonight on what appears to be a major security breach at Twitter.
And seemed to target high-profile users with millions of followers. Kanye West,
Barack Obama,
Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk,
Apple, as well as Uber.
And basically says, what happened while I was asleep? Realizing that this thing had become much bigger than he could have ever comprehended. From the moment I started talking to him, he clearly thought that what he had done was not that bad. And at the same time, it's hard to imagine that he didn't understand just how problematic it was going to be involved in this crime in any way.
So a few days after the hack, we published this story that talked about how it had all begun with OG users and the sale of usernames. And there were still some things we didn't know.
The big question is, who is Kirk and how did he get access to Twitter systems? It was literally just days after Graham had made this agreement with authorities to return the Bitcoin he'd stolen when he fell in with another kid who's 15 or 16 years old. He's younger than Graham, and yet there's something much more sophisticated about him.
And they start working together. Prior to this date, he was involved in the GoDaddy hack.
He's 15. He's 2 years younger than Graham, and yet much more sophisticated.
And they took those skills and they pivoted to a new target.
For millions, the reality of working from home could be permanent. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey telling his employees they can work remotely forever, from anywhere.
Because every Twitter employee was working from home, they all had to use these remote systems. They put together a list of everybody they could find, and Graham and this other kid would call up Twitter employees and pretend to be some sort of IT worker at Twitter who, you know, needed to help them with some problem.
This requires a lot of the same social engineering skills that SIM swapping does. It's really more about being able to be convincing on the phone and say, I work in the IT department at Twitter, we are having issues with your account and I need you to log into this portal for me. And they would send them a phishing web page. The employee would put in their username and password and that would be stolen. And so they were able to start piecing together which employees had the access that they needed to take over accounts. And then start going after those employees, trying to get their credentials, and finally building this up to a point where they could take control over Twitter systems.
Once they have an employee's information and they can log into the corporate network as the employee, they've essentially reached God mode on Twitter. They could alter and look up any account they want. They could take over any account they want with just a click of a button.
And the fact that a couple of teenagers could do this is sort of mind-boggling.
So what they did at first was they took over the single letter username accounts because those are the most valuable OG accounts, and they sold them to some of the people in the community
with the username Kirk.
But the people in the community caught on that there was a compromise at Twitter. Warnings went out to the community not to purchase these accounts. And the attackers were no longer able to sell OG usernames. So what do you do at that point?
What do you do once you have access to the most powerful, widely watched news platform in the world?
Oh man, they could have launched a nuclear war. Not exactly, but think about like they can have destroyed the economy.
They could have killed Apple stock and made a bet on it and made millions of dollars.
Basically could have had every DM and every account for every celebrity within like an hour. Could have sold intel to Russia or China.
Like think of it happening 2 days before the election. I think we got lucky here.
Out of all the things that you could possibly do against the Twitter platform, they did simple Bitcoin scams.
Could have done anything, honestly, and you would have made more money. Just teenagers at the end of the day, so.
Two weeks later, law enforcement made arrests in this case.
Anytime we see any type of criminal involved in multiple activities, you always look back to see, should we have known more at the time? But we have to rely on the investigations we have. And here we're able to now hold him responsible for a crime that we can prove he committed.
First one up on the docket this morning, Graham Ivan Clark. It's case 20 CF 879.
A couple days after his arrest, Graham's attorney is meeting with the judge and some of the attorneys in the case, all on a Zoom call.
Daryl Dirks for the state of Florida, Your Honor. Good morning.
David Weisbrod for Mr. Clark.
All right, good morning to you both. Mr. Weisbrod.
Good morning, it's Mr. Mike Oxmo, representing these.
But a number of Graham's friends and acquaintances from his online life signed up for the Zoom call posing as media outlets.
I was just wondering if you're gonna take Updog into consideration in the Graham case.
Sorry, I'm removing people as quickly as I can.
All of them started screaming. At a certain point, someone took over the screen and started playing a clip of pornography.
As was pointed out to the duty judge, why would...
All right, I'm gonna end this call.
There's this element of humor that is undercutting all of this. And when we look at online crime, a lot of it is criminals who are juveniles, and you want to give them second chances, you want to give them more opportunities, but these crimes are serious.
These attacks on the foundations of the internet, I really can't overstate how important this is, and I can't overstate the gravity of the situation, because our entire economy and businesses, they're all built on this foundation. And it turns out that we've built our economy on a foundation of sand.
These online services that have come to occupy this central role in our culture and politics, their security has not been tested in any of the ways that the other crucial systems that our society relies on are forced to be double and triple checked.
Once you've sent, please respond to this email, and we'll get everything fixed.
For us and you, they're just it's just a video game. You know, you're a video game and you're killing people, and that's all. For it, it doesn't matter to them.
It's almost like an addiction for them. They just keep making money to the point where they don't care anymore. And no one online has empathy. And for the majority, everyone's a sociopath.
Just since I was a kid, I've always been like, since I was like 10 years old, I just always was into money. So I've always started making money. I got into social media. I made like a few $100,000. And then I started getting into like cryptocurrency and trading, and then I got into millions. But I didn't plan on none of that.